Welcome to Wild, Creative, and Confident, a video interview series where you can learn from the most inspiring industry leaders on how you can use your passion and creativity to design the life and business of your dreams. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Thompson, the creative success coach from wildandcreative.com. And today we have with us Shereen's son. She's a creative visionary coach, and her company is called Radiant Wild Heart. And she helps people explore their creativity and launch their creative businesses. She's also the founder of a nonprofit organization called Green Seed Arts. So welcome, Shereen.
Hi, thanks for having me. So excited to be here and talk to you again.
I know we have very colorful backgrounds happening right now, don't we? So tell me, I want to dive right in. When did creativity really start happening for you, and how has it really affected your life to date?
Oh, wow. The hard-hitting questions first. So creativity. I am someone who did not have parents who necessarily nurtured my creativity. They were always wanting me to be a doctor, these really kind of cookie cutter, stable professions. And as I was growing up, I found myself feeling kind of a little bit like an outcast. I wasn't feeling very fulfilled in school. I was doing, I was a lost kid. And at a certain point, I started hanging around with a lot of artists in particular, and I didn't feel like I was an artist myself. So I had lots of creative friends, and they were, putting on concerts and art shows and going to the arts high school in Las Vegas, which is where I'm from. And I would consider myself maybe an admirer. I would support them. I would love being around it. It would fill me up. And but I didn't feel like I had that kind of talent necessarily. Fast forward to, college, where I finally got the chance to study what I wanted, and I chose to study art, even though it was not something that I had a strong practice in at the time. And at that point, my whole life kind of turned around, and I really consider that to be something that saved me. It gave me something to, it just made me so happy. So I feel like my creative journey has been one that I'm not someone who's been been painting since I was a little girl or playing guitar since I was a little girl. But now I have been constantly pushing my edges and being in a really empowered place with my creativity and trying to empower others. So I've created kind of a system in my life where bringing other people into the creative process really fulfills my own creativity amongst all the wonderful creative projects that I take on myself.
Awesome. I love that story because, a lot of the times the answer to that question is, oh no, I've always been creative, dancing and painting everything since I was little. So
Right.
I'm glad you were so honest about that. But it really, truly just shows how people can, they have that creativity down inside of them, and they can really emerge as a very creative, artful individual, right? Because you did.
Yeah, and I think we get in these stuck patterns, and sometimes it happens when we're in grade school and we have a teacher who says, you can't draw, or this is bad, or whatever happens when we're younger, that we move through life with this story that we're not creative, and it's not true. It's just been stifled, and we stifle ourselves, and the world around us sometimes stifles us too. And for me, it's a really important practice to always check in with myself and come back to my empowered place when it comes to creativity. So yeah, and I agree. I've asked this question to a lot of people, and to a lot of successful creatives, and so often I hear, oh, I've been doing this forever. And I want to hear more stories of all the other wonderful people who I've talked to who started after they left this corporate job that they realized was not for them, or whatever. So there's a full spectrum of how creativity can come into our lives.
It's so true though, right? Because especially I remember in elementary, there were the good artists in the class, right? And then the rest were just doing art, right? Just an art class. So I mean, as a very young age, and this might not be the same, I don't know how it is in elementary schools now, but years ago, it was that, the creatives were grouped together, right? And then, and they were creative successfully, right? And the rest were just, just making art or whatever. Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, hopefully, that's really come a long way in the school systems, but I totally understand what you're saying there. Did you always know deep down, though, although you weren't expressing yourself creatively before, did you always know deep down that you would get to a place like this?
I did not always know that, and it became a very conscious choice as I was trying on, what did I want to be when I grew up, trying on all these different things. I went through teaching and working in museums. So art was definitely even when I was teaching, I was an art teacher. So I was the art teacher in schools, helping those little kids become empowered. But art was always something that I came back to because it was the only thing that kept me excited. I'm someone who, if I don't want to be doing something, then I'm not very good at it. Like, I don't put my all into it the way I do when it's creative. And but it has become a more conscious choice to really follow my passions. And it wasn't always that way. As I was understanding who I am and what I'm here to do in this world, I tried on a lot of different things, and I learned through experience that if I'm not exactly, if I don't feel really grounded and alive when I'm doing it, then it's not what I'm going to spend my time doing. So it's been a growing process.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, how have you allowed the universe to truly provide you with all that you have now?
How have I allowed the universe to provide me with what I have now? There's a couple different practices that I incorporate. I'm a big fan of letting things be easy. If there's a lot of resistance, I try and check in with myself. I definitely love the body wisdom, embodiment practices, yoga, meditation, things like that. I believe that, deep down we know what is coming towards us, or what we want to be doing. So I try and really listen to myself, in one sense of the word. Another practice that I take on is receiving. I think in our modern way of living, we tend to chase after things, go be very action oriented, go towards our dreams. And I think it's really valuable, especially as creative women, as women in general, to just pause. For everyone, really, pause and change your energy field. So you're not in this place of needing to chase after things, but rather working on yourself and letting things come to you and letting things be drawn to you, because you're creating this container where the things that you want are going to be magnetized to you instead of you going and chasing after them necessarily. So that is a really easy thing to do and a really challenging thing to do, like to trust that you can change your energy and call things to you. Is kind of counterintuitive, but it's actually also really easy because you don't have to be exerting all of this energy trying to get things outside of yourself. I think it's again empowering to know that we can call in what we want, what we need, what's meant for us. So yeah.
And it really is, it's about calling it in. It really is about also, not only matching your frequency to what you want, but also knowing deep down that you are ready to really receive that, right? Because it was funny, I was talking to another speaker in this interview series, and she was basically saying about how, you have to check in with yourself, and you have to think about, what you want to receive, and think deep down, am I ready for that? Because chances are you might not be ready, right? And you'll know, right, when you ask yourself that. So it's kind of that combination that's so annoying and it goes together. Yeah. But so what is infinite receiving to you?
Infinite receiving. Well, one thing I'm thinking about that question that is sparked by what you just said is, I believe that we're given what we're ready to take on, and there's learning in everything. So what we are receiving may not seem always positive, but we're learning the lessons. And we're much like when we're, painting something, creating anything, we're in progress. And there's going to be times where it might not be something that you necessarily like or love, but you're on a journey to this place. And so I think patience is a part of the picture, and knowing that all these little things that you are receiving or coming at you, maybe they're being hurled at you, whatever it is, these are steps on your journey that's going to take you to where you want to be. And, the good and the bad is all part of the same coin, and it's all beautiful, it's all sacred, and it's all what's going to make us, it's all our story, and it's all of the things that all of our wisdom that we're tapping into when we are creating. So yeah, I'm a big believer in looking at all sides of the picture and not just necessarily thinking that receiving means we're receiving all the good and the bliss and the magic. There's darkness too, and it's not bad, but it helps us understand the good in a more profound way.
Totally. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just thinking, is there like, I know that you have gone over a few things that you like to do, like change your energy and uh what we just talked about, but is there like another suggestion or something like that you could give our viewers that can help them maybe daily get into a different energy field where they can be able to receive? Is there like a method or something like that you could share?
Yeah. One thing I'm thinking of is a meditation that I've been doing lately. So I do believe meditation is a really powerful practice, and sometimes it's easier for, there's different ways to meditate. That doesn't always necessarily look like I'm sitting down, I'm emptying my mind. I really like affirmations to help change your energy and fill your thoughts with productivity almost. So one meditation I've been doing lately is saying in my meditation, I am prosperity. So it's not just meditating on prosperity or abundance. It's saying I already am. And within that, I feel like I'm acknowledging and being grateful for all that I do have. That, there may be things that I'm calling in, more abundance, whatever it is. But at the same time, to change my energy field, I'm saying I'm acknowledging everything that I already have. I am prosperity. I'm not playing small. I'm not calling it to me. I am it. And the law of attraction is you are attracting more of what you already have. So if I'm saying I am prosperity, I'm attracting more of that to me. And I'm not saying, if you're in this scarcity mentality, then you're going to attract more of that to you. That's how it works. So it's really about shifting to acknowledge everything that we already have. Like, no matter who you are, if you're watching this, you're amongst, some of the most privileged people on earth in the first place. So just start to take stock of all the beauty in your life that you already do have, and shift to gratitude and then operate from that place is one suggestion that I do in my own practice. So.
Do you have an experience or something like that you can share with us that really shows about what you were talking about? How, when you're in a place of prosperity, more money, more whatever else you're asking for will come to you. When you're in a place of mental lack, more crappy things are going to happen to you. Can you like share a little story or something like that? I know I have a million, over the past few years that has really shown that exact law for you.
It's a good question. I'm trying to think of a specific example. Off the top of my head, nothing is coming to me. Maybe you could share one of yours if you have one.
Let's see. Well, gosh, I remember when The Secret came out, and like that movie really effed me up because I was like already practicing, positive thinking, all of that. And The Secret came out, and then I was like, oh, I got to do this and this and this. And, I started overanalyzing my thoughts. And then it's like, oh, I'm thinking a negative thought. And, it just was like, it snowballed. And it took me a few months to like get out of that, like, mindset to think, but like, you've already been doing this. Like, your life's already been going really well. But it was funny because when I started thinking those overanalyzing thoughts, like after I had watched the movie and I was in kind of like a darker area for a couple months, the craziest things happened. Like I like rammed into a car in a car accident. I got, in my own personal business, I lost a lot of money. Like that's just a personal story of mine because, when you're in that mindset of, negativity or worrying about being negative, or maybe, you lost money doing something. So you're thinking about that again. So, you're attracting lack. It's a horrible vortex to be in. And I know so many people feel that way, right? Like they feel like they're still in a vortex and they can't get out of it. So I don't know, is there something that we can maybe like share with others that are watching to help boost them out of that vortex if they're feeling that way right now? Do you have something that you could share with them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point you're making. I think especially like people who maybe are entrepreneurs, like that was something I definitely faced as I was learning how to run my business. Like I was like, oh, there's all these things I need to do. There's not enough time in the day. Like there's not enough of this. I have not enough of this. I can't do this. And instead, like it for me, it was really about letting myself off the hook in a lot of the cases and just kind of chilling out about things. Like there's always going to be the stuff that makes us anxious, and we don't have to let it make us anxious. Like for me, something that's been really helpful is self-care, honestly. And in those times where you do feel upset, anxious, like those are not the times to start working on something for other people. That's not the time that you want to be, in this case, like working on your business. Like that's the time to go inward and take care of myself. And I have tons of self-care practices. I'm actually writing an ebook on self-care right now. So, run a bath, or, do some movement, or go into nature by yourself and talk to the trees. And I really think that those moments where you are in those kind of thought loops is a reminder that it's time to check in with yourself and take care of yourself, and not be constantly like running yourself into the ground, doing, but fill your cup again, like maybe it's painting or doing something that you love that makes you happy. Like if you're noticing that you feel yourself getting really upset, anxious, sad, feed yourself something that you love, whether it's like junk food or whatever it is that your body is saying, I want to feel happy. That's what I would suggest for someone who is feeling kind of anxious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It reminds me of at the exact same time I was talking about previously about how, I was probably complaining to my mom or something like that I was like, oh, like I need more money and things like that. And she was like, well, Sarah, you go and you have like a caramel macchiato like a few times a week. And I was like, okay, that's not going to make me rich, Mom. And I was like, but that makes me happy. Like, like you'll go into the Starbucks, and I totally love the vibe in there. Like I've totally bought into it, right? And but it's if that latte or that drink or whatever, like that, I'm not saying alcoholic drink, but like if that latte makes you really happy every day, then it's worth that $5, right? Mm-hmm. If you go on a walk every day through the woods and it's amazing and it gives you that like burst of energy, it's worth your time. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that this constant checking in with yourself, and not just going off of the reactionary spiraling feelings like, oh, I got in a car accident, so it means X, Y, and Z about me. Right. It's not about that. It's about loving yourself and learning the lessons, and not creating a story around it that it means anything about you. You're a bad driver, you're clumsy, whatever. That doesn't really do anything. And I feel like that is part of the, if we can get away from that and instead treat ourselves with love, treat our life with gratitude, then we're moving out of that scarcity, anxiety mentality. And it's really easy also letting ourselves off the hook for being in that place, because the way the world is set up, our modern society really feeds into that anxiety machine. And so it's a process and a practice to always be working on getting yourself out of that shift until finally maybe it comes to be second nature. But it's second nature. It's not just you don't snap your fingers and suddenly you're like, oh, I'm enlightened. Like that's not life. So
what has been your biggest achievement to date?
My biggest achievement to date. I'm just really proud of myself for following my heart, and I've been trusting in my creativity, trusting in my passions. And there are times when I am like, how am I even going to do this? Like, how am I going to be the person who doesn't have to go get a boring day job, But I really just trust in my inspirations, trust in what I feel that I'm here to do, learning more and more how to really be of service through my passions. And I'm proud of myself for that and for the way that it's been really positively received and the way that I have been supported by shedding more of these layers and showing vulnerably who I really am, because that was not always easy for me to do.
It is amazing how vulnerability can really bring in connections, strong connections for you, right? It's funny because, when you're really keeping that hard outer shell, you're really hiding some of the best parts of yourself, right?
Totally.
You're not going to connect with all the right people that you need to. Is there something that you can suggest to the entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs that are watching about maybe a method or something that's worked for you that's really helped you discover your true authentic calling that could help them do the same?
Yeah. I'm not sure that everyone has one true authentic calling. One thing I would say is keep experimenting. Don't take it so seriously. Be playful, be curious, hold it lightly, and just keep trying things on for size. And if you feel like you are someone who transitions from one thing to the next, that's awesome. And that's kind of been my story. Like, I consider myself almost a generalist. Like, I have my hands in a lot of different creative fields and otherwise. And so, especially if you're an entrepreneur, like, there's not always going to be one thing that just fits you perfectly. For me, it's been finding the intersections and finding the underlying themes and finding how I can take my love for yoga, for creativity, for helping people, for painting, all of these things, and see, what is this beautiful thing in the middle that's uniquely me? And then developing that and refining that and constantly refining until it's something I'm super proud of. And it has been a hot mess at times, and that's totally okay. It's part of the process. So I would say just keep playing and give yourself permission to make mistakes, and just follow your bliss and your joy and all the lessons, and
You're not alone, right? I mean, there's so many people online that, have got to an amazing place where so many people are probably looking and saying, wow, he or she, that must have come effortlessly. Well, they don't really know the path that it took to get there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that reminds me of when I was a school teacher. I was an art teacher in elementary school, and my kids would look at me and they would see me draw something on the board and their minds would be blown. They would say, like, how did you do that? Like, whoa, just jaws on the floor. And I'm just like, you guys are not seeing the years and years and years of practice that it took me to be able to draw this circle really nicely, or whatever it is. But I could see on their face, like, that teaching moment, that if I didn't acknowledge that, then it could have sent them down like this whole spiraling path of, I can't do this, I'm not good enough. So always course correcting when our mind goes that way.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah.
That's really good. Give us some information on projects that you're working on and things like that we can watch out from you in the near future.
Yeah. So projects that I'm working on right now, I'm doing a lot of one-on-one coaching, and I'm working on a group program too. I help people launch their creative businesses and tap into their own creative life and explore their passions, all of that beautiful stuff. I'm coming out with a video series that's going to be the free gift for this offering, and that's about overturning procrastination and starting your creative revolution right now. So that's coming up for me, and you should be getting a link along with this video to that. Aside from that, I also have a nonprofit called Green Seed Arts, and we paint murals with kids about sustainability and nature and connecting people to the earth, not even just with kids, with everybody. We just get everyone to start painting collaboratively, so everyone's painting together. So that's, my service and my love, my awesome service baby. But yeah.
And where are you located that you do that?
I'm in LA, but we are cross California. So my co-founder lives in Santa Cruz for Green Seed Arts. So we travel and go to festivals and all that wonderful stuff.
Awesome. That's so fun. Very cool. So where can people find you online?
Excellent question. You can go to radiantwildheart.com and find lots of my offerings. And there's also a place to contact me if you're interested in talking to me about anything. I love talking about creativity. I am definitely from the same planet as you, probably, where creativity just runs the world. So, yeah.
Awesome. And if they wanted to check out your nonprofit, where can they find that?
The nonprofit is at greenseedarts.org. And you can find both Radiant Wild Heart and Green Seed Arts on Facebook and reach us that way too.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I've got one more question for you. What is it that makes you wild, creative, and confident?
Ooh, I love that question. What makes me wild? I don't know. I just am. I think the wildness, I'm going to go to the wildness. The wildness is this permission to play and experiment and get into my body and go play in nature and get back to myself, like whatever that is, past all the conditioning and socialization. I'm always trying to uncover the layers and peel back and just feel my emotions and not put up emotional blocks, and just the playfulness. I think playfulness is huge as adults, so I'm always trying to bring that back.
Awesome. Well, I want to ask you about the wild, why you decided to use the word wild in your branding.
Oh, good question. Yeah, and so did you. So we're similar in that way. Well, it's a lot of what I just said. I feel like we are all, especially as women, there is a wildness inside of us and an untamedness that wants to be set free. And I feel like it has a lot to do with our creativity too, because we tame ourselves so we can kind of move around in this life. And I don't know why we tame ourselves, but I want everyone to just get back to that wild side. And I think the earth connection is a big part of that. That's always a central piece to my work. So yeah, I don't know. The word wild really resonates with me. I love going into nature spaces. Like, I much prefer the wild nature to the manicured.
Yeah.
I just think it's really inspirational. And I think there's a lot to learn from these natural patterns that we see when we just let things flow.
Much more enchanting, much more magical in a sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being in the series. You've added a wonderful, colorful element to the speaker group. And everybody, make sure you check out Shereen on her website. And thank you all for watching. And don't forget to check out the new Wild, Creative, and Confident program, 6 Steps to Creative Success. And we'll see you all again soon. Thanks so much. Bye.